Alright, well, first drive in the C60. Hopefully this goes well. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Rustomod. We are back on our 1966 Chevrolet C60. And in this episode, hopefully we can get this thing running and driving. So if you guys missed the last few episodes, I'll list the whole playlist up here so you can get up to date on what we've done to this truck. But if you guys are new to the channel, I'll give you a quick rundown of what we've done. So this is a Chevrolet 1966 dump truck, and we found this thing. I thought it was super cool. But unfortunately, all that heavy-duty suspension that I originally had was all blown out. So what we did was we found a cheap Chevy Silverado, and we yanked the cab off the C60 and we yanked the cab off the Silverado. We put the two together to make a classic-looking Chevy truck with a modern Silverado drivetrain underneath. And in the last few episodes, we tackled all the wiring process of this truck. So we put a Painless wiring harness in it, and we ran our motor and transmission with a Holley Terminator X. And finally, we got the thing fired up for the first time since we started this whole project. And hopefully in this episode, we can get this truck back on the road since we ripped it all apart a few months ago. So this build has been pretty simple. We started this at the end of December, and a few months later, we have almost a running and driving truck. So let's see if we can make that happen. So we got to get this thing back on the lift and get to work. First thing I'm going to do is pull out that leaky, gross rack and pinion steering and swap in a new one that I got online. So I'm gonna yank that out real quick. Hopefully it doesn't come out too bad. Seems like it should be pretty easy, and slap in the new unit. All right, well, I got that rack and pinion pulled out of there. But first, before I put the new one in, I have to put the tie rods on the new one. So I wanna measure where the tie rods are from the rack. Obviously, I'm going to get alignment after I put all this stuff together because I've changed basically every suspension component on the front end. I'm gonna do that right now and then go ahead and throw the new one in the truck. As I replace this steering rack, a lot of you guys are wondering, man, you're literally replacing everything on the front end of this truck. Isn't that why we went to a modern suspension, so you go to the parts store and source parts? Which is yes, but we are spending a little bit of money on the front end of this truck just to make it run and drive. That is one of the downfalls of buying a complete chassis. Don't really know how well it was taken care of before you got it. It might be worth spending a little bit more money to find a lower miles, cleaner truck and doing it that way. Maybe look for a little bit more expensive truck. This truck was $400, so I wasn't really expecting any of this to be any good. All of the suspension stuff are very cheap, and it's easily available at auto parts stores, so that is good. And it's really easy to put stuff in. Like that steering rack probably took me maybe 15 minutes to put in and out. So, you know, there's wins and losses, but I definitely think if I spent like $4,000 on a really nice Silverado, then maybe the suspension would be in a little bit better shape. So it's just a gamble that you make, but just a thought for you guys doing this stuff at home. So now that we got that power steering rack in there, we're gonna have to fire it up and bleed it, check for leaks, make sure everything is good with it. But I also have to finish putting the radiator hoses in and all that other stuff before we can fire this thing up again. The other thing that I want to do is the front clip actually is not completely bolted on. We have it bolted on temporarily in case we needed to pull it back off, but now that it's running, I think we can leave it on for good. So I'm going to go ahead and finish bolting the front clip back on, and then we can go ahead and work on all of our coolant lines so that way we can get some coolant in this truck and fire it up for a little bit longer. So I got the fenders tightened down and I put a jack under the front clip because I actually made some little aluminum spacers to get the cab really level. So I went around, measured all 4 corners, stuck these little 1/8" spacers where I needed it, and the cab is really level right now. So I want to try to match the front clip now that it's a little bit more tightened up. I'm going to try to slide some spacers in the front clip to space it up a little bit with the jack, let the jack down, and then measure it again to make sure the cab is level with the front clip. Well, the front clip is officially back on the truck. Everything is tightened down, so we have knocked that out. One thing that I really want to start on is this transmission tunnel. So I have bought an aftermarket one, and it was really cheap on eBay. Doesn't really look like it's going to work too well, but I should be able to try to make something work with the original tunnel and that aftermarket one. So this is the aftermarket one that I got online. And if you notice, it has a bunch of holes in it to mount to the floor, which is good. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a measurement from the holes that are in the floor, and I can't even fit it all in there without cutting the hole for the shifter. So I'm gonna have to measure from where these holes are to where that shifter is, and then basically cut a circle out in the center of it. So that way I can get the shifter in position with the floor that's gonna go in here. So I'm gonna measure that real quick. One thing that I do need to keep in mind of is the shifter does look like it's going to be above the floor. So I'm gonna have to make sure that I have enough room so that way it can move back and forth without hitting the bottom of the floor. All right, so I got my measurements, kind of have a general idea of where that shifter is going to be. What I have decided to do was I'm probably going to cut quite a big hole in this. That way I can still access the shifter and adjust it. Once I bolt this whole thing down and put carpet in it, I'm not going to be able to get to that shifter to adjust some things, and I still want to be able to access it with the carpet in there. So I think my idea is to try to cut like a big square out of here, so that way I can put some screws in it and then bolt it down and then put like a boot over top of it. So now all I need to do is cut out a sizable square and then set it in there and see how it fits. So I got the tunnel all bolted down in the spot where it's gonna be. So now you can kind of see what I'm talking about. I need to connect the dots from there to the firewall. So I'm gonna use the original firewall piece of the tunnel, and I'm gonna try to trim it out where it's hitting the transmission. And then I guess I'm just going to like put some sheet metal to butt them together and tack them all together, pull it out, weld the whole thing up, put it back in, paint it, and it should be done. So that's my plan. But we'll have to see how much cutting I need to do on this so it fits back in there. So I'm going to cut this out here and then drop it down and then see how much more I need to cut. But I'm just gonna take a little bit at a time because it's really hard to measure because I can't really see where the transmission is. But take a little bit at a time. Don't wanna cut too much because I'm gonna need some kind of flange to weld this back to. I trimmed it kind of high because most likely if I ever have to pull that transmission out of there, I'm gonna just pull the tunnel out. It'll make it a lot easier. But if I, for some reason, can't do that, I made it high enough so that way you can access the bolts from underneath. At least that's the idea. So now basically all I'm gonna have to do is put some sheet metal and make them one piece. So I got this bolted in where it's supposed to be, and there is a little bit of overlap here. I'm probably just gonna weld that together. And then on this side, I'm probably gonna have to connect the two together on that side. So we'll have to see how that's gonna work. But the top should be pretty simple, just a flat piece of sheet metal to butt to that, and then bend it over to the sides and make it one piece. Well, I bent this piece over a piece of pipe to get the bends down there, and came out pretty good. So I'm gonna test fit it in there, and if it fits good, I'm gonna tack it into place, and then we can make the side panels. All right, so I'm trying to do a little cardboard aided design, a little template, some poster board, and then cut it out and weld it in. Should be pretty easy. One pro tip, if you guys are doing some templates like this, is try finding poster board instead of actual cardboard. It's a lot easier to mess with. You can get it a lot more precise. So if you guys are doing this at home, get a pack of poster board, make your life a little bit easier. All right, let's go put this on metal, make it work. All right, well, I think that came out pretty good. We got the whole thing tacked into place. Gonna try to see where that gas pedal is gonna go because my foot is gonna be between the brake pedal and the transmission tunnel. So there's not a ton of room there. So I wanna make sure I get that all comfortable, but that's in there. I feel a lot better about it now. I thought that would be a little bit more difficult than what it was. So it turned out pretty good, pretty happy with it. For now, that'll work. We can at least get our gas pedal in there and we have a transmission tunnel. So next plan of attack is trying to figure out the gas pedal. So I have the gas pedal going through a hole right here and it works good. I have the factory Silverado cable, green piece that clips onto the gas pedal back a little bit because it was sticking all the way out here. And I picked up a square body Silverado gas pedal. So that looks like that would work really well. So it already has that kind of style gas pedal clip on the top of it. And it looks like I can bolt that to the firewall here. Now the one thing is it has this little plastic piece on it and I'm gonna make a plate to cover that up. So that way the gas pedal is retained into this plastic piece and then basically drill some holes, screw that to the firewall, and that should be pretty much it. And we can have our gas pedal mounted up to the firewall. So I made a little cardboard aided design template out of this and transferred that to this piece of aluminum. So I'm gonna go ahead, cut this out and see if I can make it work with this. I got the gas pedal in there, not my favorite. That bracket didn't really turn out the way that I wanted it to, but it works pretty good. I think the pedals match pretty well. You do have to lift your foot up a little bit to get to the brake, so that's a little bit annoying. I might have to adjust that brake pedal a little bit, but other than that, it works pretty good. It should be able to drive. I think I got everything hooked up. I got that gas pedal in there. I just put all the coolant lines on real quick, so gonna make sure everything's tight. I'm gonna try to pull this thing outside, just put some water in it for right now. That way I can check to see if anything is leaking and try to get this up to operating temperature to make sure that we're good to go. And then I can try to drive it around for the first time. Now, mind you, don't have this thing tagged yet. There's no rear lights on it, so we're not gonna go too far. I don't even really have the front suspension aligned or the wheels and tires balanced yet. So I'm not gonna go too far. I just wanna make sure that the thing runs and drives okay. Then I'm gonna take it over to Patrick's at some point. He's gonna do an alignment and balance my wheels for me. And we should be able to drive it a little bit farther. Once we get it back, we can start working on the bed and trying to get the rear lights figured out. And then we can get some tags on this thing and drive it on the road. Got it outside, filling it up with some water, checking for coolant leaks. So hopefully we can get it to maintain temperature and bleed the coolant system. All right, it's warming up. I got the fan turned on. I just wanted to make sure it worked. I have the fan set at 140 degrees, which is really low, but it's at 170 degrees and it's warming up. I'm not really sure why my coolant temperature sensor is not working. That's kind of weird. And we're still gonna have to go in and set our gas gauge and everything, but the oil pressure, I'm waiting on a fitting to make that work. And the battery gauge should also work. So it's running good. I figured it would. It's literally, I ran and drove it before I did all this, so I know everything works, so that's pretty cool. It's about 187, 188. It seems to be fluctuating between, so it seems to level out around there. So I'm going to shut it off now, let it cool down, check the coolant again, and we should be good to go to see if we can take this thing on its first drive. Wanted to jump in here real quick to tell you guys about our new merch store. If you guys are a fan of the C60, maybe the Sasquatch, or any of the other projects we have on the channel, we have a new merch store that I'll link down below, and we have a bunch of products on there so you guys can help support the channel. So go check that out. Back to the video. All right, well, first drive in the C60. Hopefully this goes well. Like I said, we've got unbalanced tires and the alignment is probably all whack, but I just want to see if it drives down the road and we have any issues. So only thing to do is try it out. It's crazy because I never really drove the C60 before we did this swap. So this is my first time kind of driving the truck at all. Not gonna go too far. I have no lights on the back, so I don't want to get in any people's way. Good oil pressure and good temperature so far. The steering wheel actually isn't too bad. Well, my camera ran out of battery, of course, on the first drive. So this is take two. I literally just turned around and came back, but it seemed like it was doing pretty good. So we'll try it again. We got first, second seems to shift good. Yeah, you can definitely tell these tires need to be balanced. Man, these brakes work awesome. The brakes work really good. I wasn't sure how they were gonna work with the way that I had that brake pedal in there, but the brakes are working great. So that's really good. The steering seems pretty good. It's definitely a little heavy with those wider tires on there, which I kind of expected, but it's not too bad. Temperature is 190, doesn't seem to be anything abnormal. Oil pressure is good. I also don't know how much gas I have in here, so hopefully we're good. It's funny because I've already driven this truck as a Silverado, and I didn't really change anything except the body. So I pretty much know how it rides and drives already. Definitely seems a little harsh on the ride. We probably need some new shocks and stuff, but it's driving really good for doing this swap in the first drive. This thing's kind of hard to see out of with the little back window. I see why guys swap to the big back window. What a cool truck. Speedometer works. I didn't calibrate anything yet, so that's cool. The speedometer is working. How cool is that? I gotta calibrate it, I think, but it seems to be working. That's so awesome, dude. I love this truck. How cool. I need to get speakers. I didn't hook the speakers up yet for the radio. That is so awesome, man. I can't wait to get a bed on this. That's gonna be the next episode, I hope, is we can finally put a bed on this truck. What a cool truck. That's so cool. All right, well, I think that might be my best successful first test drive. Good oil pressure, good temps. Transmission shifts good. It handles good. Even without the alignment and the unbalanced wheels, it'll ride even better when we get all that stuff done, but it's turning out pretty awesome, guys. All right, guys, well, that was probably one of the best first test drives that I've done in a while. When we did the Buick one, it overheated. The Rambler, we came back with a ton of issues, but this thing is pretty good. It's really cool to finally see this thing outside after been working on it in the shop for so long. It's really come out really good. I think we made a perfect choice on the Detroit steel wheels, and just the whole stance of the truck is really cool. It's awesome too with the side steps on there because it has that awesome presence, but it's actually stock factory Silverado ride height, which I love that because it rides really nice down the road. So I'm really happy with the way this thing is going. We do have a little bit of a coolant leak out of the radiator. I have to see what that is, and the temperature gauge on the dash isn't working. So just a few little things that we're going to have to fix. The leak on the radiator is pretty small, so I'll have to see what is leaking there, but everything else on the truck is running and driving really good. The transmission shift's good. The alignment we're definitely going to have to tackle, and trying to get these wheels balanced, we're definitely going to have to tackle that. But we are getting really close on this truck. I do have the fog lights to wire up in the front. I have some under hood lights that I want to put on there and some speakers and stuff for the radio, but other than that, it's pretty good on the cab side. Now, hopefully in the next episode or the next few episodes, we're going to be working on the bed. I have a really cool idea for the bed, and yes, we are going to be doing a flatbed on this truck. That was the plan from the beginning. I'm just going to stick with it, and we're going to do a flatbed on here, but I have some really cool ideas for it, and I think you guys are really going to like it. I brought the truck out here because I wanted to see it next to our 59 Ford 4x4 truck. This is what we call Sasquatch on the channel, and this is actually the next build that we're going to be doing on the channel. We're going to be doing an entire chassis swap on this truck as well. It's actually going to be a really cool truck. So stay tuned for the Sasquatch build, and we have a ways to go on the C60, but it's really coming along awesome. And hopefully with a bed on there and just driving it around, it'll look really cool. I'm really excited to try to tow some stuff with this thing, try to pull some cars out and drive this thing, hopefully on Hot Rod Power Tour this year. But that's going to do it for this episode, guys. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe so you can stay up to date on all the projects that we have here on Rustomod. And make sure you stay tuned for what we're going to do next on the C60 build. So we'll see you guys in the next one.